Good evening, a lovely Tuesday to you. Hope you've had such a good day. I don't know where my words are today, all the way from radio, but we are good. Welcome to the show. This is The Day. My name is Medrin Nyambura. Last week we talked about borrowing, and I figured, how about you talk about investments as well? Because you'll hear people say you need to invest money. Where and how much do I need to invest? So I brought you the best person to talk about it. I keep saying this is her playground. She knows everything about investment. You might have heard of her. Her name is Rina Hicks, an investment banker. I believe they know what that is. An author and also a financial coach who helps people just find themselves and find order with their money. Hi, Rina.
Hi.
How are you doing?
Good. Thank you
for having me. You got the memo with the dresses?
I did. Great minds, Medrin. Great minds.
Nice to see you, and thank you so much for coming through. So last week, I'm thinking of the questions I'm going to ask you. I open a local daily and I see how to be a millionaire with 45,000 shillings. I'm thinking, who has Rina's number? So usually people assume investment needs a lot of money.
Yeah.
But you disagree.
I do.
Okay. Take it away. Why?
I disagree because when I look at the people who are around me who've been very successful, people who I have seen and worked with, because being an investment banker, what we do is we help people find opportunities to invest their money. And I've been in this business for the last 15 years. And with the people I have worked with, some who were college students at the time when we started.
Wow, okay.
Others who just, either were in the stock market or weren't in the stock market, but have walked a journey, and I have walked a journey with them. I've seen it's not the big money that brings big money. It's the consistency. And so for me, wealth is equal to income of whatever amount, Medrin.
Okay.
Plus good management, plus time. So consistency is very, very important. And it doesn't matter whether you earn 50,000 or 1 million.
Okay.
It's about how much do you end up keeping at the end of the day.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's how much you set aside after you're done with everything. So there's a rule that says once you get your money, save fast before spending. Does that apply?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. In fact, they say that the rich do that. The rich save first or invest first and use the rest.
Okay.
But the poor use the rest and invest what is left.
Oh, goodness. And then you're stuck in the same place.
And you're stuck in a rut.
Okay.
And so you have to decide. It's actually a decision. You're like, you know what? I need to put away money for my future, for my kids' education, for whatever goals it is that you have. And for me to do that, I have to pretend I didn't get this money at all. So if you can send it out and send it out as soon as it checks in, that way you're assured that even if you're sending out 2,000 every month, whatever the figure is, that at least you're putting money away towards your future. I watched a clip of a lady who was in the US, and she was talking about how she started okay, and then she ended up in a lot of problems and was in poverty after she left her husband.
Yeah.
Couldn't afford to even, buy food. She was on food stamps from the government in the US. And she said when she got a little income, she'd send away as much of it as possible in an account that she didn't even want to think about. After 3 years of doing that, she had 6.5 million saved. I mean, we're talking about somebody who...
What?
Yes.
Yeah.
We're talking about somebody who was poor and managed to get a side job here and a side job there. So what I'm saying is it's possible.
Okay.
It's not about thinking, let me wait until I have this huge pot of money, then I can start investing.
Okay.
Start wherever you are, even if you're a student or whether you're a stay-home mom who's getting an allowance, you can still save.
Okay.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah.
So where do I start? I think for me that has been even personally the biggest struggle.
Yeah.
So you want to invest. Where do I start?
A good place to start is to understand what your goals are.
Okay.
Because half the reason we don't invest, in my view, is because we don't have a clear picture of where we are and where we want to go. So if, for example, the things you want to achieve, you want to go to Zanzibar in December, you want to have a certain degree that requires you to go to a certain school that you'll need 2 million over the next 2 years.
Yes.
The reality of the need for that money, once it hits home and you put down your goal and it's specific with regard to time, specific with regard to the amount of money that you need, your habits will change because you're like, hiya, I need to put a deposit on my home. And if I don't do anything about it, if I want to put this deposit down in the next 3 years, I will not have this home that I want.
Okay.
And so when you clarify your goals and put those goals down with regard to amounts, when you want them to happen, then your attitude starts to change and you're like, I need to do this with urgency. So I think that's the first place to start.
Okay.
Yeah.
You know, many times we say, I want to go to school, I want to go for a holiday, and you keep saying, okay, the rich people go for a holiday, but in actuality, they saved to go for that holiday, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's the same concept. It's the same concept, except now that you're doing it for not just a holiday, but if you want to have kids, you want to get married and you want to have a wedding, you want to retire at the age of whatever.
That one, wedding.
By the way, wedding, you know, guys,
People need to save for
borrow
weddings.
to have their weddings.
That's true.
It's unacceptable.
Yeah.
You know you're going to get married. You know you're going to ask your girlfriend, or you will be asked at some point in time when you feel you're ready. Start stashing money away. Or if you get engaged, then start putting money away towards your wedding.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's a whole other topic. So usually when you talk to people about investment, and my guests last week even positioned land as one of the most best places to invest.
Okay.
Here's the fear though.
Right.
Too many brokers, too many pieces of land being sold to everybody.
Yeah.
So in your own opinion and experience, is land a good place to invest?
So I think there's many investment options, and land is just one of the many investment options that are available. Real estate is good, and real estate has great opportunities. You know, if you're buying land to build some units on it eventually, to then rent them out, I mean, it's fantastic. It's a good investment opportunity. However, you have to do your due diligence very well. Because like you said, we have a lot of con people out there, con men, con women, who are out there who are looking to, you know, find a deal. And so, you know, I've heard of somebody finding some land, and they're talking to other people other than the owners and end up paying the money, and they're not the owners, you know, and now ended up in court. And so you have to use lawyers who are experienced in dealing in land deals to know what do they need to check, what process do you need to go through. Don't ever try to buy land on your own.
Okay, which is what
just
many
dealing with
people
you and the
would do.
seller, never.
Okay.
You have to use a lawyer who then can help to do the due diligence for you, because they know where to check, how to check, and what you need to get done.
Okay.
Cheap is expensive. So if you're trying to cut costs, I think add the cost of using legal experts onto your investment, because you'll end up the better for it.
Okay.
Yeah. So I'd say, don't say land is bad, I'm not going to invest in land, I was conned. I think it's just to understand that there's certain requirements and processes that are needed in the process of purchasing land from somebody. For example, you need consent from the family that is selling, not just this one man. There's a family, his wife has to consent, give consent to the land board to be able to transact. Now, if he doesn't do that, she can come later and say, my land was sold but without my knowledge. And then what happens? Yes.
And that could pose problems for you.
Exactly.
Okay.
And you also need to check that he's a bona fide owner of that piece of land. So land is great. Like every other opportunity. Incidentally, I must mention, Medrin, it doesn't matter what you invest in. There's a risk. Whether that's shares in the stock market, whether that's a business that your friend owns, whether that's land, whether that's cryptocurrencies, whether that's whatever, the investment opportunity, there's always risk. So it's just about evaluating what are the risks in this particular investment and finding ways to then go around or mitigate those risks, so that then you put in place the right things so that you're not in trouble at the end of the day.
Okay.
Yeah.
Again, let me just follow up on the land question. People say that you should invest in land with the perception of long term.
Okay.
Is that it?
Well, yes and no. Yes, because if you want to sell the land, it can take even a year or more to sell
it.
Yes.
What?
Yeah. So you buy land, and you'll be told you bought the land at, I don't know, 20,000 shillings, a million, whatever, wherever you bought it.
Yeah.
And it's been 3 years, it's been 2 years, and you're told it has gone up by 5 times. And you're like, Sawa, let me sell.
Let me sell.
Where will you find a buyer? It's not like they're in a market somewhere waiting to buy land and they're looking everywhere and anywhere. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So finding that buyer is not easy. And even when you do find that buyer, the process, of selling the land takes time. So when you buy land, you need to know that this is money that you don't need urgently.
Okay.
So that's where I think that person was coming from with regard to the fact that it is long-term in nature. So I agree. But then there's also land that you can buy, and depending on where the land is, I've heard of people buying land, subdividing, selling within a period of a year, and they make good money because it's in a location that is, you know, in high demand. They get good value for it and are able to sell at a good value. So, but I would prefer that people look at it as a long-term investment opportunity, because you will not be able to sell as and when you want to sell. It can be difficult to find a buyer.
Okay, that's good to make very clear, because people think, you know, I'll just sell the land and then build a house, and it's a whole other process. Now, stocks.
Yes.
Hi. If I hear that word one more time, I'm like, okay, so you want me to buy stocks. Where do I start?
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Stocks are actually my favorite subject because this is what I do daily.
Your eyes are glowing.
Can you see? I'm lighting up.
Yeah.
So I think the thing about stocks is to just understand that all this is investing in a piece of ownership of a company and benefiting from the gains that the company makes and the opportunities the company has without being involved in the direct management of this business.
Okay.
So the beauty about stocks is that when you get in, and even if whether the company value goes up or not, if you need your money back, when you give an order and sell, you get your money back within 3 days.
Okay. Oh, that's fair.
Within 3 days.
Okay.
You get your money back. That the settlement cycle is 3 days. And so that's one of the biggest advantages is liquidity, particularly if you buy a stock that is liquid or trades frequently in the stock market. I also find it very useful because a lot of us are using, you know, our phones, for example. You use your financial services with a bank. You know, there's certain services that you use a lot. Perhaps you fly a lot, you invest, you know, or you use Serena a lot. And so there's certain things that you can easily see that this company is doing well or this company is not doing well because of ABCD. And so it's not very difficult to analyze how a particular company is doing because you're interacting with it on a daily basis. Okay. And so there's companies that are like that are listed on the stock market. So for example, KCB, Kenya Commercial Bank, you know, it's in the financial services. Maybe you have an account there. You can see how they're doing. You're happy with their customer service or you're not happy with their customer service. Okay. You're happy with their technology or you're not happy with it because you can experience it. And so you can judge based on how your experience is and looking at their accounts, whether is this company going to do what they're saying they're going to do? Okay. Are they doing well? What's the industry like? And make a decision whether to buy or not. And so they're not far removed from our day-to-day. You know, you have an opinion about Safaricom, if I can ask you. You have an opinion about Mumias, you know, based on what you see on television and things like that. And so I think it's easy to invest. All you need to do is just give it time, to talk to advisors, and not one advisor is what I usually say. Okay. Talk to different analysts and find out, what are you recommending? Should I buy this or the other? And it's so easy. Medrin, in 20 minutes, you can open your account. All you need is 2 color passport pictures, a copy of your ID, a PIN certificate, and a utility bill, period.
So I can do it for myself?
Yes.
Okay.
You can open an account yourself and start with just even 2,000 shillings, 3,000 shillings, depending on how much money you have available. The minimum number of shares you can buy is 100. So it's easy to invest and you don't need a lot of money. In fact, it's a great place to start for people who don't have too much money. Okay. In fact, if you'll allow me to give this story very fast.
Go ahead.
There's somebody who I met many years ago when I just started and I was excited about being an analyst and would sit and share our views on what I think is a good buy and what he thinks is a good buy, and then make a decision, and he starts to buy. The thing about this young man, he was in university and he had a bit of extra cash, and it was not much. It would be 5,000, 10,000, 20,000. But anytime he had some extra money, he would bring it and we would invest it. Okay. He was very consistent, and after from 2002, he started. So for about 8 years, about 8 years, he consistently continued to do that. And it was little money, you know, like 5,000, 2,000. He ended up, I remember one time going to the office and approving a payment for an RTGS, electronic funds transfer, for over 2.2 million. And I was like, this student, when did we get here? Obviously, it had been 8 years. Yeah. However, how did we get here? Like, I asked myself a few questions because I was like, I should have been investing with him. Yeah. And I realized when I approved that payment and actually even called him to ask him, hey, how did we get here? He said, I just stayed consistent. Okay. That he was able to grow his money and ended up buying an office space using.
Wow.
Yeah, that was his deposit for an office space.
Okay.
As he's getting his job
Yeah.
to start, earning an income. And I was like, this is an amazing thing. So the thing about the stock market, there are a lot of people who are watching and I'm probably thinking,
Here
really,
goes Rina again.
I lost money.
Yeah.
I invested in KQ and I bought it at 60 shillings, and now it's at what? I bought Mumias at 45 shillings,
And now here we
it's
are.
at what? Under shillings, I think 85 cents. What are you saying? The thing that you have to keep in mind is that the stock market and the companies that are listed are affected by very many variables.
That's true.
Political situation, the economy, and so many other things affect each of the companies, and even things that are industry specific. So the thing that somebody has to ensure that they know is that when you start to invest in the stock market, you must ensure that you're involved and aware of what's going on around the companies that you've invested in.
Okay.
So that then you can make a quick decision to either jump out or invest in another company. Because if you've made a loss and you can see that this company is going under, they've said, we're unable to meet our cash flow needs, our working capital is negative all the time, you can actually sell and recover that money by investing in other quickly growing companies.
Okay.
So the idea is not to just invest and forget forever, but to keep your eyes on it and to just see, do I need to be making a decision now? I heard ABCD.
Yes.
I've seen 1, 2, 3. What do I do?
Okay.
And talk to people, talk to the advisors and research analysts. And we are there, and we are
Talk to
mainly
Rina.
in this market.
Okay.
Yeah.
You make this so easy.
It's easy.
When we come back, I'll be asking her how exactly you do that. Keep tabs with what's happening in the stock exchange market. If you have any question, 22316 is the number to text, or 0786 316 316. That's on WhatsApp. Get to asking questions. I am here to make sure you create wealth. We'll be right back. That's exactly what you should do when it comes to investment. Monday to Monday, educate yourself in trying to understand where to start. And I don't take any more time. Rina, there's something you said before we went off, that you need to be in touch with the companies.
Yes.
Which leads me to ask, is it advisable to have someone to walk you through it, especially if you're starting out? Because someone like me, okay, I bought stocks for Safaricom then. Yeah.
I think it's very critical with whatever it is that you do. I think the Bible says that with many counselors, that you will not go wrong. It's in Proverbs and I don't know it verbatim, but when you have many people who are advising you, not just one, but people to guide you through life, investments and options that are available and the experiences that they had, then you'll be able to make a wiser decision.
Okay.
And so I agree, yes, it's important not to just make decisions on your own because you don't have all the knowledge and one person doesn't have all the knowledge, even if they've worked in the investment space for 50 years. It's good to just hear from other people. What are their thoughts? And what are your thoughts? And, and things like that. So it's important, yes, talk to advisors. Don't believe them 100% because even them, they don't know 100%. But it's important to talk to people who have a bit more experience than you do.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's talk about bonds.
Right.
I saw some in the paper some time back last year and I thought, this is a good place to start. I know nothing about it. So maybe just tell us what that is and whether that is an idea for investment.
Okay. So investments are put in 3 classes. We call them asset classes, general ones. There's cash, there's equities, and there's bonds. So what bonds are, and generally bonds are, it's an organization, institution, or government that borrows money from the public to do something, whether that's pay for roads or pay for whatever it is that they use the money for.
Okay.
And then promise to pay you back that money after a certain period of time. That time could be 2 years, or that time could be 20 years, or that time could be 30 years. And they pay you back that money with an interest.
Okay.
That's really all it is. I know the one you're probably referring to is the treasury bond.
Yes.
And that's usually only issued by the government.
Okay.
So governments issue treasury bonds to help with their recurrent expenditure as well as with infrastructure. So we have those ones for infrastructure called infrastructure bonds, and they're fantastic bonds, by the way, because they're tax-free. And then you have the regular bonds that have a tax of 15% on interest that you earn, which is all investments, products that pay an interest have a tax on them of 15%. Anyway, so that's all a bond is. The government borrows money from the public, wananchi, and pays back or promises to pay back that money after a period of time with interest.
Okay.
Yeah.
So let me ask, I'll just use our Kenyan example. Do you know how sometimes the government is in a lot of financial trouble?
Yeah.
Maybe we're in debt. We
Yeah.
haven't paid China a certain amount of money. We owe people so much money. Does that affect my investment?
No, because as long as the government has issued a bond in Kenya shillings, they will print money and pay you back.
Okay.
If it's necessary.
Okay.
Because they're the source of the money anyway, right? So what ends up affecting you are things like inflation. But, and that's where the risk comes in, the inflation and interest rates going up. That's where the risk is. But with you getting back your money, if you invested 100,000, you will get back 100,000.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's a good place for people who are afraid of risks.
Yes, it's a good place for people who are looking for income. So you're 50, you're 55, you are about to retire, or you've retired and you've been given a nice check, maybe of 100 million, and you're like, okay, I'm not too sure what to do with this. A good place is you put it in a treasury bond. In fact, there's a gentleman who I heard this story from, and it was a gentleman of Asian descent, Kenyan, who sold his business and had 100 million.
Okay.
And he decided he's going to invest his 100 million in a bond, and he put the money in a bond and was earning 15% per annum from this bond. What is 15% of 100 million? That's 15 million a year. And so what he said, he's like, but I can live comfortably. I mean,
Yes.
that's $1 million a month, more than $1 million a month, right?
That's around 1.2 a month. You're sorted.
You're sorted.
Yeah.
And so he was like, but no, I want to leave an inheritance for my children's children. So what he did was he went to the bank and said, dear bank, can I borrow money to build apartments? How much do you want? 100 million. What's your security? A treasury bond. Here you go. How will you pay back? There's interest coming from the bond. And they were like, but this is perfect. And so he got the money, built his apartments, finished them after, I guess, the usual 24 months, 36 months, people were in the houses and the units were bringing in an income through rent. He went back to the bank and said, can I please have my bond back? And they're like, okay, but you're still paying the loan. He said, yeah, sure, but the rent coming from the apartments will pay for this loan. And they said, sir, we'll release it. Oh, okay, I want to ask you one more thing. Can I take another loan to build other apartments? And they're like, sure.
What's the security? The bond
the
again.
The bond again.
Yeah.
So the beauty about bonds, banks love them because the government has guaranteed and they're not going to default. And so they are fantastic for income. I know somebody today who uses the income interest from the bond, it's a 15-year bond, to pay for his child's school fees. So it depends again. Remember we said goals?
Goals. What's your goal?
Goals are very key. Goals are very key so that you understand what do I want to do. And so bonds are great. Infrastructure bonds, by the way, there's going to be one towards the end of the year, guys. There's also Emakiba. On your phone, even with 3,000 shillings, you can participate in bonds. You don't need a lot of money. Yes.
Can you put that interest back into the bonds?
No. So the thing is that they pay you back the interest every 6 months for treasury bonds. And so they actually send it to your bank account. And so that's the other risk that they say bonds have, because you have a reinvestment risk. You want to reinvest that interest in a similar earning instrument. And so the challenge is that now, where will I get 15% from that I was getting from this particular bond? And so that becomes a challenge, because you want your money to compound, right?
Exactly.
Over time. But you can find other opportunities to be able to invest the interest.
Let me tell you, this is investment 101.
There's also treasury bills. They're like bonds, except they're shorter term. There's 91 days or 3 months. There's 182 days or 6 months. And there's 364 days. 1 day short of a year. Yeah, those are treasury bills. They're a bit different. Minimum with treasury bills is 100,000 shillings. And all you need to do, if somebody's wondering as they're watching this, is you go to CBK, Central Bank of Kenya. They're on Haile Selassie Avenue. If you're not in Nairobi, they have centers somewhere within your city or town, or just go onto their website and check where you can actually go and open an account. And banks also help people open accounts with Central Bank.
For treasury
So
bills?
It varies. I don't have them off head right now. I think for 3 months it's about 7.7%. For 6 months it's about 9%, 9.4%. For 1 year it's about 10%. But it's on their website. I'm kind of giving a rough figure.
But you can try that. If you're thinking about bonds, how about you start with this, then if that works, then you go to the next thing, right?
Sure. So again, it depends how old you are. It depends your goals, because if you're 21 or 25 or 27, I mean, bonds are great, but you have time, so you can take a bit more risk and invest in something that will bring a greater return with time.
Okay.
But they're not a bad idea. They're not a bad, especially if you want to just park your money for a period of time, like you want to use, you're saving for something and you just want to keep the money somewhere. It's a great place to put money for a short period of time, particularly treasury bills.
Okay. I think what I'm understanding is if you're younger or maybe you can take more risks, play around with a bit bigger risk, then you can come back and use that money for bonds.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
We get you. And now there's another thing that seems to be hot right now.
Okay.
Energy, oil, solar, everybody. Invest here, invest there. Advisable or not?
Again, first of all, I don't know whether retailers can invest in those sorts of fancy alternative investments at the moment. I think it's mainly large corporate institutions or groups of individuals who've come together to put money together to invest. I'm not actually aware of an opportunity that an individual can invest in unless you know one. But, when you look at solar, that's where we're going. Every single multiple dwelling in Kenya, the Energy Regulatory Commission has declared you must have solar units in apartments, right?
Yeah.
So people who are in solar are going to make money because it's an alternative and it's clean energy. And so anything to do with clean energy is going to do well.
Okay.
I was talking to some young people today and I asked them, what would you invest in? They said energy. And I was like, why? And they said, if you look at a picture, very simple description, if you look at a picture of the world at night, Africa is so dark, you know, in terms of just electricity, right?
Yeah.
So the potential for energy companies is huge in this part of the world. But there's other companies that you can consider like Kengen. So it's in energy, it's electricity. Kenya Power is another story altogether, but we won't get into that.
Yes.
But, Kengen is an opportunity that you could potentially consider.
Okay.
Yeah.
I like what you've said about using farms, because actually the person who talked to me about it runs an investment farm, and his main focus is oil, energy, and solar.
Okay.
So now tell me, investment firms, they usually get a bad rap. I'll tell you that much. People think, I might lose my money, but you're in the field.
Yeah.
So do you work with one?
Yes. I work at FIDA Investment Bank. And I'd be interested to know what specifically. I don't know why anybody would fear an investment firm, particularly if that investment firm is regulated by a regulator.
Okay.
Because being regulated, and it's important for somebody to check before you invest with an investment firm, are they regulated?
Okay.
Because if they're regulated, imagine the requirements that we have to meet are very onerous. For us to be able to have our doors open to serve you means that we have met certain requirements.
Okay.
And should something go wrong, you have recourse. You can go to the Capital Markets Authority, you can go to the Nairobi Securities Exchange, you can go to the Central Depository and Corporation and just complain that, this is what happened, I had this situation, and you will be restored.
Okay.
And so the key thing is to ensure that as you invest, use firms and individuals that are regulated. Right now we have a firm called the Institute of Certified Financial Analysts, ICIFA. I'm forgetting the full name of the acronym. ICIFA is an institution that was set up by an act of parliament to certify and regulate analysts. And these are individuals, whether that analyst sits in an energy company or sits in an investment bank or at Treasury or at Central Bank, or in a business. If somebody is certified and regulated, if they do something that goes wrong, they can lose their license.
Okay.
And there's penalties.
Okay.
You pay fines and, there's jail terms and things like that. So I think Kenya is in such a place right now where there's regulation that is serious and that is punitive. And so anybody doing anything funny will not get away with it. But they have to be regulated.
Okay.
So don't go to people who are not regulated. I would advise that look through those who are regulated. And the information is out there on the regulators' websites, the Capital Markets Authority, Central Bank, the names of those who are authorized to trade or to advise, financial advisors, financial institutions. Yeah,
So
listed.
how does my relationship with an investment bank work?
Right.
Do I come to you with money and then I say, I have 2 million, I have 20 million, here's what I want to do? Is that what happens?
So yes, in a nutshell. So you would come, we would understand what your objectives are. We would understand your time horizon, would understand your risk appetite, and then take time to explain how the stock market works, how the bond market works, how the other opportunities we have available work. And then based on your interest and based on those other things that we've understood, your objectives, time horizon, and risk appetite, then help you make a decision or advise you, and then you make a decision on what you're going to invest. So you can decide, I want to invest 10,000 every month, or I have 20 million available right now. Where should I invest it?
Okay.
So that's how it works. But you have to take initiative as the person who wants to invest. What I have a struggle with is seeing a lot of people walking into a bank or an investment bank, a stockbroker or financial advisor's office and saying, here's $1 million, here is 500,000, please just invest it. You decide what to do with it. Call me after 6 months and we'll see how we're doing. That is not the way to do it. You have to take responsibility for your own wealth creation. There's nobody out there whose goal is to make you wealthy, is what I keep saying.
That needs to be very clear.
My goal is to earn and to increase the revenue we earn as a business. I hope that makes sense.
Yes.
Obviously, I have a fiduciary duty as a financial analyst to advise you adequately, and I will do that. But I have two goals. I need to make you succeed, but at the same time, I have revenues and bills to pay.
And goals.
And not to make you rich, right? So so what happens is those who take time to call up the advisor, to visit, to find out how is my account doing, to check their accounts, will do much, much better than somebody who puts money
and disappears
and says, I'll call you in 6 months.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry, let me just follow up again.
Sure.
So how do you make money from us guys? What's your payment?
Okay.
Yeah.
So do you, as FIDA or as generally as an industry?
As an investment firm.
Okay, so as an investment bank, how we make money is on each transaction. So let's say if it's equities, for example, if it's shares, on each transaction, we get a fee.
Okay.
And so, for example, if you trade over 100,000 shillings, you pay off a fee of 1.5% of the consideration. So 1.5% of the 100,000 is what you end up paying, but it's deducted from your purchase, for example.
Okay.
If it's treasury bonds, for example, and you come to us and you want to invest with the Central Bank of Kenya, it's free for you.
Okay.
Because we'll get a commission from
the government. Okay.
If it's a company, it's an IPO, for example, or it's a company looking to raise money, and we have that opportunity, and you come to us and say, look, I want to invest in XYZ, we will help you invest, but we will not charge you anything. We'll get a commission from the company. So it depends. There are different structures. There's commissions that are paid by the company where the investment is coming from, and there's other ones where you actually pay a transaction fee for each trade that you carry out.
Okay.
Yeah.
I wanted that to be clear because it's practical for a company to want to make money, because then again, we're not here to do anything for free, right?
Right.
Because when people say, the company is taking my money, but they need your money, they need a fee to keep the lights on. So I wanted that to be very clear.
So it would be very sad if you're expecting free service, because every company needs to put in the right systems, the right people to be able to serve you well and better. And for them to do that, there's money that is required to make it work.
Okay.
And be careful with free lunches. My mom used to tell me when I was younger, there's no such thing as a free lunch.
I agree. When we come back, I'll be asking the question, so how do I know what's the best place for me to invest? Family TV, also live on Family Radio. And remember, you can get in touch with us on 22316 or WhatsApp on 0786 316 316. Still trying to understand the practicality of investing. I hope you're learning something. And there's something you've mentioned in your off air, that instead of having your money just somewhere in an account, waiting for the day it gets to 2 million so to buy that bond, what can I do?
Now, you remember I mentioned earlier, there's 3 kinds of asset classes. There's cash, there's equities or shares, and there's bonds. So if you have cash, you're saving for a rainy day, or it's an emergency fund, or you're saving for your wedding, or you're saving for retirement, whatever it is, you have cash available right now, or you're saving cash every month. You don't have to have it sitting in an account.
Okay.
So first of all, people need to understand one thing. Yes, the government announced that every bank has to give a minimum interest rate for savings. But what we don't understand is that it has to be a designated savings account. So banks have become very smart, and you have to say it's a fixed deposit account or it's a savings account. But if it's in a regular account, it'll probably earn 3%.
Okay.
So you have to know. So the first thing is I have cash available every month I'm putting away towards saving and I'm putting it in my bank account.
Yes.
But how can I maximize the interest that I am getting? So you can first of all find out from your bank, how much interest are you giving me? And if I put the money in a fixed deposit, how much money will you give me? And if I invest it in, because they have different investment options within the bank, what is the best that you can give me? It's important to know so that you can maximize on the interest that your money is earning.
Okay.
The fact of the matter is, Medrin, there's something called inflation. If inflation is 5% today and you're earning 3% in your cash, you're losing money.
That's true.
From a purchasing power perspective. So the idea is whatever it is you do, you need to at least meet inflation at a minimum, even if I'm saving money. And there's instruments that you can use. Yes, it's cash and you're saving. Yes, you'll need it in 2 months. It's okay. You don't have to invest it in stocks or in real estate. You can invest it in cash, but there's fixed deposit accounts. There is money market funds as well. So how money market funds work is insurance companies exist, and these insurance companies have to invest the premiums that you give to insure your car, to insure medical, to insure all these different things, so that then they become profitable. And so what they do is they have companies called asset management companies that invest their own money. But these companies invite the public to invest alongside with them.
Okay.
And they have different products. The one I would recommend is a money market fund. And so the money market fund works like a savings account where you can put money for a short term. And if you want your money back between 2 to 4 days, you have your money back.
Okay.
But you're able to get a bit more than your savings account will give you.
Okay.
The other thing about banks is negotiate. So you go to your bank tomorrow or call them, or you call your relationship manager tomorrow, Medrin, and find out how much am I earning on my savings account.
Okay.
Give me a better rate. And the bank will tell you, no, add some more money so that I can give you a better rate. But the fact is that don't take it for granted and ask them to give you better, so that then even your cash is doing a bit better than it would if it was just sitting in a current account earning 0 or in a regular account earning 3%.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm thinking? How we are so ignorant of certain things, like your bank account exists to withdraw money, to put. Do you understand what I'm saying? You probably don't even know who your relationship manager is, but yes, challenge accepted. So question, how do I know where to invest?
Sorry, let me just go back to bank accounts.
Yes.
So there's different accounts for different purposes. So you might have an account where you need to transact often. I need to pay school fees. I need to send this there. I have to. So you need a current account that has a one flat fee that enables you to transact and is not expensive, because if you transact a lot like that with a savings account, you will lose on the fees. And so if you have lots of transactions taking place, you don't want a savings account that then has fees on those transactions. And every time you do an EFT or an RTGS, you're getting charges. You go for a current account, 0%, because it's about transactions.
I just had a light bulb moment. Okay. Yes.
And then you have a savings account where you're stashing money away for a purpose. You understand? Because there are banks where you tell them, look, I want unlimited RTGSs, unlimited foreign transfers, unlimited checkbook, unlimited, and it's one fee that you pay per month. 900 bob in some banks. Okay. 700 bob. Well, I don't know about, I think they've increased it to 900 bob now. Flat fee, all in. Okay. And there's others where everything you do, from a banker's check to is charged. Now you end up paying quite a lot. So you want a current account fixed fee that then takes. So you also need to understand what are your needs, and therefore what account should you get. That's very critical. Sorry, I had to mention that.
Yes, and I was telling you I had a light bulb moment, because I remembered I was reading an article that was stating that most Kenyans operate their savings account like a current account.
Yeah, it ends up being very expensive.
Exactly.
And you don't end up earning anything. You lose. Okay. And pay more than you would if you had a current account.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you for that. So how do I know where to invest? I think that's the question we kept saying. We need to answer that question.
So this one is in summary, because we've kind of mentioned some of these things here and there. Yeah. I think number one, most critical, what are your goals? And the reason you need to know what your goals are is so that you know, what is my time horizon? So there's what is your time horizon? And your time horizon will be based on your goals. You also need to know, what is my risk appetite? there are people who are generally happy to take risks.
Yes.
And then there are others who are so risk averse. They're just like, by the way, thanks, but
Yeah.
I'm not interested. I'm
Yeah.
happy to have my bank account. So once you understand what your risk appetite is, you can choose investment options that meet that risk appetite, that then will maximize your return based on the risk appetite you're willing to take.
That's true.
So it's very important to understand those three things: your
Okay.
goals, your time frame, when do you need the money by, and your risk appetite. How much
Okay.
risk are you willing to take? The next thing you need to understand is this thing called inflation that I mentioned. And whatever it is you're investing in, it must, at a minimum, cover inflation.
Okay.
Otherwise, you're doing nothing.
Okay.
The next thing is you must start now. Whether you're 55 or 21, you must start now, because the more time goes, the less time you have. And there's something called the power of compounding that I don't know whether we have the time to explain.
Yes.
But I can say it in quick summary. If you invest 2,000 every single day from now until, let me give two individuals. One individual decides at 19 years old, they're going to invest 2,000 every single month.
Okay.
And stop at 39.
Okay.
They invest for 20 years and decide,
Yeah.
I'll leave my money there. I'll not take it out, but let what I have invested grow for another number of years until I'm 65.
Okay.
When I'm 65, I'll withdraw. His twin sister decides, come on, I have time. Starts at 40, invests 2,000 every single month until she's 65. When she's 65, decides to withdraw. They both earn, we assume, 10% per annum, compounding monthly, and they also do not experience any tax. So let's assume it's an instrument, there's no tax.
Okay.
10% per annum, only 10, compounding monthly. The lady who started at 40 ends up with 2.1 million.
Okay.
His sister, or his brother, sorry, her brother,
yeah.
ends up with 18 million, slightly over 18 million. You explain that difference to me.
Consistency?
Yes, and
Okay.
time. They were both consistent.
Yeah, but time
Time.
and the compound interest factor.
Compound interest.
Okay.
So the more you're delaying, the more you are avoiding the opportunity of earning from compounding your money. And it's not about the amount. You see, that was 2,000.
Exactly. Yeah.
It's not about the amount. It's about finding an opportunity and being consistent with it and reinvesting your money so that it continues to grow.
Okay.
And starting now. So it doesn't matter where you are, how much you earn. With 500 bob, you can start.
Okay.
And the other thing I will say is you don't have to know everything.
That's the other challenge.
Because you're like, I don't understand it. Oh, I don't know. Just start.
Okay.
Learn a little, use advisors, and find out, be curious, read, but just start. Start with that money market fund and grow the money there as you're trying to figure out, do I invest in real estate? Do I start building units? Do I look for land to buy to build units? Do I invest in the stock market? Do I invest, the different options that they are, but start.
Okay.
Yeah.
Maybe I think just the last word to people in regards to investment. Again, we were saying to the young people, you have time, but you don't have time. That's what you're saying in a nutshell, right? So maybe I always cater to my young people because I want them to be wealthy,
Right.
legitimate wealth, and maybe just say there's something to them.
I think young people kind of feel, I have so much time. And it is true. They have so much time. And what I would say to young people out there is use that time to your advantage.
Okay.
Because just like that example I've just given, this person starting at 19 has earned, how many more times is that? 16 million more.
That's almost 9 times.
Yeah. 9 times more than the other party by just starting early.
Okay.
So begin to equip yourself. I'm an author, by the way, as you mentioned, and I have a book that is available.
Yes.
Which I have a chapter dedicated on investment options that enumerates all the different advantages, disadvantages, and how they work, so that a young person can pick it up and read it and start and know where to start investing and what they should be investing in.
Okay.
And so for young people, I'd say the reason I said to you, you don't have time.
Yeah.
No, I said you're not young is because you need the time. And what the time affords you is the ability to take risks.
Okay.
And so if you can start now at 25, you will do so well. By the time you're 40, you'll do amazing things. In fact, I was reading something the other day that said, if you want to retire at the age of 40, 45, you need to be investing and saving and investing at least 20% at a minimum, but ideally 50% of your income right now.
50?
If you're 25, yes. Depending, of course, on your income, right?
I'm thinking, how am I going to
So,
live?
but you see, half of these young people live at home.
They live at home.
They
That's
don't have
true.
kids. They don't have any education they're paying. And
Okay.
so if you can put away as much as possible when you're young, you will be so much happier for it when you're older.
Okay.
Yeah.
Rina, thank you so much.
You're most
I'm so
welcome.
grateful. I feel like we needed 3 hours because I still have more questions, but we need to go. So thank you so much. People can reach you on YouTube. I think that's
Yes.
why I first really loved your work.
Okay.
That's Moneywise.
Yes, Moneywise with Rina Hicks. I'm on Facebook, on YouTube, on Twitter.
Okay.
And so guys can, even on LinkedIn, you can find me there.
Okay. You have
Yeah.
classes.
Yes.
You have books.
I have classes.
You have all these
I have
things.
books. So just get in touch with me and you will not go wrong where investments are
Okay.
concerned.
Are you accessible on social media?
I am.
For DMs, for questions?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
DMs for questions. I made that very clear.
Yes, not for dates. I am married.
Happily married with children.
Yes.
Thank you so much. Thank you
Okay.
so much for coming through. For me, I think first I thought it's so fantastic that it's a woman who's teaching us about investment. I think there's always been this assumption that only men can teach us, but here's proof. Thank you so much for coming through. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you've learned something. I was saying to my producer earlier that this was selfish because all those questions are questions of my people who have so many questions on investment, but I hope you've learned something. So here's some good news. You see, everything we shoot here, if you catch it midway, if you catch it when it's like 5 minutes to the end, we're on YouTube. Imagine that. So Family Media, just go type This Is the Day Family Media and you'll catch the episode literally tomorrow morning. It's going to be there, or catch it on TV 8 a.m. to 9 a.m. tomorrow. And then it's also going to be on the website. Like literally you have no excuse. All the content is out there for you. Thank you so much for hanging with us. My name is Medrin Nyambura. Jackson Musi taking over from 7 with a prayer circle. So send in your prayer requests. But for now, thank you for your time and good night.